Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the 2024 United States Senate elections, and I'll be giving my updated prediction for these races. Obviously, before I get started, I want to say tonight is the GOP debate, so if you're a Republican primary voter, go watch that. It'll be very interesting, and I think everyone should watch debates. Even if you're not a Republican primary voter, you should watch it, because it's going to be one of the most important early moments of this campaign. So, that being said, I do want to talk about the Senate today. I do want to give my updated prediction, and we're going to start out as we always do by filling out the safe states for the Democrats. These are your typical safe states. New Mexico is going to be joining the safe column here. Martin Heinrich won by over 20% in 2018, and I think he will win by less, but still by a good amount. New Jersey's on the border between safe and likely, but we're going to put that in the safe column just because I don't think Republicans are going to target too much, and that's going to round out our safe states for the Democrats. They're at 41 guaranteed seats. Republicans, they're going to get actually pretty high here with their total because, again, we're going to give them a number of states here. I would say Missouri is likely in terms of margin but safe in terms of probability. And the rest of these states, similar with West Virginia, I'd say it's kind of the opposite. Maybe likely in terms of probability but safe in terms of margin. But it's essentially in the safe column. And, yeah, so Republicans are at 48 Senate seats already. They're just 3 away from the majority. Democrats are at 41. And we're going to now begin by getting into our likely Democratic states. As of right now, I only see 2, both on the East Coast. That's Pennsylvania and Maine. Pennsylvania, Bob Casey won by 12% in 2018. Obviously, bluer environment in a midterm election, so maybe he wins by less this time. But nevertheless, he's very popular. Republicans don't really have any good opponents. Actually, right now, I don't think they have any opponents. David McCormick might run, but even then, he's not that great of a candidate. He's, I'd say, average. So Casey, I think, is going to win by a good amount. In Maine, Angus King is running for re-election. He's technically an independent, but he's functionally a Democrat, so we're going to call him a Democrat just because there's no point in, making that distinction. And he is very popular in Maine as well. He wins the support of a lot of Republicans, too. I think he's going to win by a good amount come 2024. So Democrats are at 43 Senate seats now. Republicans, they're going to win just one more state here. I would say Florida's still in the likely column. Not Marco Rubio, he's 2022. Rick Scott is not a very popular incumbent. I know he won 2018. He's always, putting up impressive electoral performances, but he's not the most popular incumbent senator. And Democrats have a decent candidate, Debbie Merkersel Powell. She was a former representative for the 26th district, which is south of Miami. And it's a swing district. She lost in 2020 by 3%. Now, Trump did win the seat by 6, so she outperformed Joe Biden by, a decent amount. And she ran against a very good Republican opponent. So she's definitely, I'd say, a solid recruit for Democrats. She's going to be a credible candidate, but I would definitely argue that Florida is, at this point, a red enough state where even if the MP is a good candidate, even if Rick Scott is a bad one, it stays red. Especially considering Rick Scott, even though he's not very popular, he always seems to win narrowly, so he'll probably find a way to win again. He's perhaps by a good amount this time. Now, those are likely Republican states. The rest of these states are competitive to some degree, obviously some more than others, as I always say. We're going to start out with Nevada, though. Nevada's moving to lean D. I think I've had it as tilt for the past couple of months. I'm going to move it to lean D. Look, Jackie Rosen, I really think I was underestimating her. She's a popular incumbent. A lot of voters in Nevada seem to really like her. Her favorables are good enough. And again, Sam Brown, as a Republican, is a decent recruit. He's ran for the Senate in 2022. He lost the primary to Adam Laxalt. Nevertheless, though, look, I know I'm saying look a lot for some reason, but the fundamental thing with Nevada is that Joe Biden might lose it, but I think Rosen, who outran Steve Sisolak in 2018 against an incumbent Republican senator, will likely do better in Clark County than Biden, probably by a good amount. I think she's going to do significantly better with Hispanic voters. I think she can do better in the city with working class voters. And I think in addition to that, in 2022, turnout was really bad for Democrats, and Cortez Masto still won re-election. I think Rosen, with just even slightly better turnout, will probably win by a good amount. So Nevada's our first lean D state. I'm going to give two more, but I forgot to put Virginia in the likely column. I can't believe I did that. That's a weird misstep. But the next two are going to be Wisconsin and Michigan. These are both Rust Belt states I think Democrats are going to be pretty fine in. Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin has yet to find any, literally no Republicans have filed to challenge her. David Clark might, but either way, They were hoping to get either Tom Tiffany or Mike Gallagher to run, neither of whom were interested in doing so. So Baldwin would either run against a nobody, like a random state legislator or a random mayor of a small town, or David Clark, who's probably even worse than a random person. She could be in a borderline likely D race. Then in Michigan, Debbie Stabenow is retiring, so it's likely going to be Elisa Slotkin running for Democrats. Slotkin, she receives a lot of hate online, but that's not really translatable to real life. She is a fine candidate. She won by 6% in a Biden +1 seat last year. And so she's had a history of pretty solid electoral performances in her district. Obviously, she's a former representative. I think she'll likely win. James Craig seems poised to run for the Senate seat, and I think he's a decent candidate. He's the former police chief of Detroit. Nevertheless, though, Slotkin's, to me, favored to win. Michigan's a lean blue state. It's always pretty close, but Democrats seem to always come out ahead here, and I think that's going to be what happens in 2024. So those are our lean states for the Democrats. We're going to give one to the Republicans now. It's going to be Texas. Texas, I've talked a little bit about this race. If you want my broader, more specific thoughts, go watch my video on that race. And I basically said that I think Ted Cruz is a bit more vulnerable than people think. I think he could definitely lose, but for now, he's still in a lean Republican race. He's not popular. He's a polarizing figure, but is he enough to lose Texas? As of right now, I don't think so. I think he's going to do just well enough in the suburbs. I think he'll actually outrun Trump in some suburbs. I think he'll underperform in the rural areas and in the counties in the border region, but he will likely do fine. He probably wins by maybe 2.5%, 3.5%, somewhere in that range. And again, until the suburbs of Dallas and Austin become bluer, which, they're getting blue, but until they become a deeper shade of blue, Texas will be lean Republican. And so 2024, not yet that time, potentially in the future, though. So that's my broad thoughts on Texas. Again, if you want a more detailed analysis, watch my video. I posted it maybe a week or two ago. So these three states, I think, are all going to be very close. I think they're all in the toss-up range. And Democrats to win the Senate need all three of them. Republicans only need one of them. And that's the reason that I think Republicans are favored to win the Senate, broadly speaking. And so, again, Senate maps are a little unfair because, I don't think every state should have the same amount there's no reason that California should have the same amount of senators as Wyoming or Vermont. But regardless, we could see a scenario in which Democrats win the popular vote by a lot but lose the Senate. And I think that's going to happen. So Montana is, to me, the first state I want to characterize here. I think John Tester is a very popular incumbent. And I think if the election were to be held today, maybe John Tester could win. Because, again, right now his favorables are high. Here is the problem for Democrats. Elections get polarized. Before elections, we often see candidates have very good approval ratings and they're well liked by their state. But then as the election gets closer, as the campaign, as the opposing campaign runs negative ads and they attack you for your stances, it gets worse. So John Tester, to me, could absolutely win re-election. He's a popular figure as of right now. I don't know if he'll be popular enough in November 2024. That's my that's my fundamental argument. So Montana, tilt Republican. And then, we'll go to Arizona now. I've gone back on this. I originally thought Sinema was going to cost Ruben Gallego this race. And there's still a chance for that to happen because she's a former Democrat. And there are going to be a lot of Republicans who aren't going to, or who are still going to vote for Carrie Lake. But the polls disagree with me, and I don't want to be stubborn. I don't want to be the guy who's just arguing against the clear data. And as of right now, the data suggests that Sinema actually helps Republicans. I think she'll have a neutral effect in the end, if I had to guess as of right now. And I think Gallego will probably win by maybe a point or so. But this race is so weird. I talked about this one, too. It's just such a weird Senate race because it could be a three-way race. I don't want to be taken out of context. It could be a three-way race between Gallego, Lake, and Sinema. And that could potentially hurt Democrats in the suburbs, but help them in rural areas. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. Either way, though, I'll stick with the partisanship, and I'll also Carrie Lake's a terrible candidate. We'll say Democrats favored to win Arizona right now, but very narrowly. So the final state's Ohio. Ohio is just so close right now. I would like to leave it in toss-up, but I don't like to do that. We're always going to give it to someone. And I'll say for right now, if you made me guess, I'd say Sherrod Brown is ever so slightly favored to lose re-election. It's going to be very close, don't get me wrong, but this is what I'll say. There are three potential Republican opponents for Brown. Frank LaRose, Secretary of State, Matt Dolan, State Senator, and Bernie Moreno, businessman from Cleveland. I would say Dolan beats Brown by 4, maybe 5. LaRose beats Brown by 2, and Moreno maybe loses to Brown or is essentially in a toss-up race. So I would say the average of those outcomes may be Brown losing by 2 or 3, but because Moreno is the most likely GOP nominee, I don't know. So the problem Republicans have here is essentially that they don't know how they're going to attack Brown. Bernie Moreno could attack him from the right and say, look, we're a red state. I'm tying myself to Trump, and I'm going to beat Sherrod Brown. But Brown's the popular figure, and he's been popular for a while. And unlike John Tester, he has won competitive races before. Or I mean, Tester, I don't want to say that, but he has, withstood attacks from his opponents before. He's also running a state that's 7% bluer, so that helps him too. But he's really a well-known figure in Ohio. He's established. I think there's a lot of Republicans that still like him, and that's going to be really hard for someone like Bernie Moreno to pick off, especially Bernie Moreno, who right now is not polling well, is the GOP nominee. So, again, if it's Dolan, who is a more popular figure, I'd say Brown probably loses by a decent amount. If it's Moreno, very close race. Either way, they're going to keep it on the Republican side of toss-up, but don't get me wrong, Sherrod Brown, popular incumbent, he's leading in the polls right now. He could still hold on to this seat. So that's my updated prediction as of right now. Again, 52 seats for the GOP, 48 for Democrats. I'd say obviously the clear path for Democrats is to win Montana and Ohio. But as of right now, I think Republicans are favored to win very narrowly both of these seats. So that's the battle for the Senate. Thanks you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.